Welcome back, Outdoor Minimalists. Today I'm overviewing how you choose between a synthetic bag and a down sleeping bag for your outdoor adventures. So first, let's overview some of the pros and cons of down and synthetic sleeping bags. The two examples that I have for sleeping bags right in front of me are both from Nemo equipment. My synthetic sleeping bag is the Nemo Forte Endless Promise women's bag, and the down sleeping bag is the Nemo Disco men's long. And they both are around the same temperature rating, and I wanted to demonstrate bags from the same brand within the same temperature range so we could compare the size and compressibility visually. So starting with the Disco, something that most people will say that they love about down sleeping bags is that they're highly compressible and lightweight. So you'll see a size difference between the two bags right off the bat. Most people opt for down because of this reason and also because it's a natural material. So although the outside of the sleeping bag will be synthetic, at least the interior insulation is a natural material of some type. With proper care and maintenance, down sleeping bags are still highly durable and can last your lifespan of adventuring outdoors. The next pro with down that most people will mention is that it has a high weight to warmth ratio. So you're getting a little bit more for the package because, like I said, it's far more compressible than something like a synthetic. And so you're able to get a warmer bag while still having a lighter weight and a smaller carrying case. Moving on to the Nemo Forte and the Endless Promise. This is a synthetic sleeping bag. It is kind of my go-to sleeping bag this year. The pros of using a synthetic bag is that it continues to insulate when wet. So unlike a down sleeping bag, if the down is to get wet, unless it has some type of waterproofing solution, it will no longer insulate, which can be dangerous in some climates. The synthetic sleeping bags are also often the choice for people that are ethical vegans because they don't use animal products of any kind, and they're hypoallergenic. So if you have allergies, you may opt to use a synthetic sleeping bag. Another note is that synthetic materials, by and large, tend to be more affordable. So if you're working on a really tight budget and you still want a durable, long-lasting piece of gear, you may opt for a synthetic sleeping bag. Since we were talking about the weight and compressibility of the two sleeping bags that I have in front of me, I will say, although the Nemo Forte looks a lot larger, they're actually a similar weight. So the Nemo Forte Endless Promise is 2 pounds, 10 ounces for the 35-degree rating. And the Nemo Disco is 2 pounds, 2 ounces for the men's long, and I think it's about 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see it on the front. And I'll make sure to include the specs in the description. Moving on to the cons of both down and synthetics. I'll start with down again. As I mentioned before, it does not insulate when wet unless it has some type of waterproofing treatment, which is becoming more common in the outdoor industry, but I would be careful in reading the product specs to ensure that it is not intentionally containing any PFCs or PFAS. As mentioned with the care and maintenance of down, it can be a very long-lasting material and product, but only with proper care. So it's important if you do get a down sleeping bag, you learn how to properly store it so you don't lose loft and create cold spots by compressing it. So right now it's fully compressed, which is standard for travel, but when you're storing it in your home or wherever you live, it's important to have it in the larger bag that the company will provide because it ensures that the insulation isn't bunching up and creating cold spots because that can impact the warmth to weight ratio and the general insulating properties. The same can be said for synthetic insulation, but I think that getting cold spots is a little bit easier when you're not storing down properly. As mentioned with the synthetic pros, down is not hypoallergenic or vegan and can be a bit pricier. Moving on to the cons of synthetic sleeping bags. It is a heavier material, it tends to be bulkier, so even though this is fully compressed, it's still quite large. It'll probably take up your entire bottom pocket on your backpacking backpack that is standard for sleeping bags. You might be able to fit a couple other things in that pocket depending on the warmth rating, but Most of the time, they're just gonna be big and bulky and you have to deal with it. Other primary cons of synthetic sleeping bags are that it has a lower warmth to weight ratio. So even though it is heavier and bulky, it tends to not be quite as warm as a smaller down option might be. And the lifespan, I've noticed, is not quite as long with synthetic materials, which might surprise some people. You might think that a natural material wouldn't last as long, but actually, oftentimes the insulating properties of synthetic sleeping bags drops a little bit faster, but you can improve it with proper storage. Now on the market, there are a lot of blends. So you may see some sleeping bags that have insulation that is a mix of down and a synthetic of some kind. You may even see other natural materials mixed in, such as plant insulations or even wool insulations, which all have differing properties. With the blend, some of the pros is that it's lighter than synthetic and it's more water resistant than down. And it tends to be a little bit more affordable than down alone. So you get some similar properties between both bags, but then you also get some of the same cons that you get between both bags. So a blend will be heavier than down, less water resistant than synthetic, and slightly less affordable than a fully synthetic bag would be. So with all of that information, how do you choose the right bag for you? It kind of depends on the type of adventures that you enjoy. For someone like me that is vegan, I would choose a bag like the Nemo Forte Endless Promise. The reason I would do that is because I don't want to be purchasing animal products on my own. And I choose the Endless Promise because it's the first fully recyclable sleeping bag on the market. So although it is made from fully synthetic materials, most of the materials are coming from recycled sources. And if this bag for some reason is damaged or I'm done using it, I could always rehome it. I could send it to Nemo for a repair, or I could send it to their recycling system to ensure it does not end up in a landfill. Other people, they may always opt for a down sleeping bag because of a lot of the reasons that I said. For instance, my primary backpacking partner, Katie, she usually uses a down sleeping bag because she prefers the high level of compressibility. She typically does not backpack in cold weather, so she uses like a 30-degree bag, and she usually packs in climates that are more arid and dry, so she's not as concerned about getting that down wet. So it's important to think about your intended use, your specific needs, and some of your personal preferences when you're shopping for sleeping bags. If you want to learn more about Nemo equipment and all of their sleeping bag options, I recommend going back and listening to episode 96 of the Outdoor Minimalist podcast, Balancing Fabric Performance and Sustainability, featuring Teresa McKenney. If you liked this review and would like to see more, make sure you hit that like button. I don't know where it is on the screen, but you can find it. And you can also subscribe to stay up to date with new releases of our YouTube videos on the YouTube channel. If you want to stay up to date with podcast episodes that are released every Monday about various topics regarding sustainability in the outdoor industry, you can subscribe to our Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you want a nice clean package to know what's going on every single week, the easiest way to do that is to head over to theoutdoorminimalist.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter. And together, we will create a better outdoor space as we recreate.